gonna do when they come for you? When you were 8 and you had bad dreams, you go to school and learn the golden rule. So why are you acting like a bloody fool? If you get hot, then you must get cool. Bad boys, bad boys.
The very first Auburn Police Department began in the late years of the 1800s. As of the year 1869, the Auburn Police Department included all of one night officer or night watchman, Officer Joseph Hall. Officer Joseph Hall was appointed to the job and received a salary of $2 per night. Along with Officer Joseph Hall was Officer Charles Davis, who was the first special police officer of the department. The department also started out with inspectors for vinegar and other similar items. A year after the start of the department, more officers were added. Officer William Washburn was added as a day policeman for the department during this time, along with Llewellyn Maxwell and Officer Penny, who were both added as night policemen. 6 years later, in October of 1876, the police department received permission to build and man a guardhouse in what today is New Auburn. The police department had also decided at this time to assign a special police officer to the Oak Hill Cemetery. The department assigned one Sunday officer at the cemetery and a total of 4 regular day police officers that kept a regular route checking in on the cemetery. In 1882, the first report of the police department's activities of Night Officer Thomas Vosmus, Night Officer B.B. Foster, and Night Officer William Lunt were recorded by the first chief of the department, Chief Llewellyn Maxwell. In 1887, as the department was slowly progressing in the year, the department purchased necessary equipment such as belts, billy clubs, helmets, new revolvers, and handcuffs for the night officers. The old equipment was kept and used by the other day policemen and what were called special police on the department. A while later, in the year 1894, the police department made the decision to adopt the use of what was then called a special police matron. The matron they adopted was Maria M. Sweat. The department's idea and logic behind having Maria Sweat was that she could make situations like arrest less stressful for women and children. 8 years later, in 1902, the police department took much pride in August 26 when the mayor of Auburn chose special officers to be on duty during the visit of President Theodore Roosevelt. The year 1921 was a big year for the Auburn Police Department, as this was the year the department purchased their very first motorcycle. 1930 was the first year when Chief Rowe began keeping police records that were very simple. The year 1932 was exciting for the Auburn Police Department. This was because they employed their first official motorcycle officer. Along with having a motorcycle officer, Auburn purchased a scout car. Another big moment in 1932 for the police department was when they received their first pinball machine complaint. This complaint led to an extensive investigation to determine the fact of if the machine should be considered a gambling device or not. The investigation was concluded when the device was determined to be within the law. In the year 1932, the majority of the department's arrests were to do with intoxication. 1936 was also a big year for the department, due to the department being credited with saving many lives during the burning of what today is New Auburn. This was also a big year for the police department, as this was the year they purchased their first boat, which was later used on rescues on the Androscoggin River and lakes that were close by. During 1938, the chief of the Auburn Police Department was Chief Herrick. Chief Herrick organized a snowshoe patrol during 1938 to check in on cottages that were located on Taylor Pond. Chief Herrick and his crew were also very busy during 1938 trying to protect the lives and properties during the hurricane of 1938. Following the hurricane of 1938 was the murder of Officer John Penny. Officer Penny was murdered at his filling station that was located at the corner of Upper Court and Minot Ave. Officer Penny was working peacefully inside his garage when he was struck on the head with an axe. A while later, in 1950, the officers of the police department worked a scene of a train wreck for a total of 3 days on Hampshire Street. The wreck stretched from Hampshire Street all the way to Court Street. After the train wreck during 1951 to 1952, the police department established officer ranks. The purpose behind the ranks was so there would be a superior officer on duty at all times. Like many others, 1964 was a very big year for the Auburn Police Department. During 1964, the Auburn Police Department was the first law enforcement agency to adopt the use of the walkie-talkie. They adopted the use of the walkie-talkie to communicate with other officers on the department and the Maine State Police. Before the department adopted the walkie-talkie, they were running into the major issue where if an officer was in need of assistance, they would have to run to the nearest call box, phone in for help, then run back to their scene in hopes that help would be there quickly. Also in 1964, the Auburn Police Department established an underwater search and recovery team. A year later, in 1965, the Auburn Police Department made a big change when they installed a teletype system that could send and receive statewide and nationwide alerts and messages quickly. In 1979, the Auburn Police Department encountered yet another change. This change was when they moved out of the police department building on Spring Street and into the new one located on Minot Avenue. The year 1981 was very exciting for not only the police department, but for Auburn in general. During 1981, an event known as the Torch Run was created in support of the Special Olympics. Every year since the Torch Run began, the Auburn Police Department has participated.
What is it like to be a female police officer?
It is definitely empowering. It's definitely tough. You know what you're made out of, and you know who you are and who you want to be.
On November 6 of 1996, the Lewiston Auburn Communications Center began. This center meant that the dispatching calls would no longer have to be done at the police department. It was now a completely separate job and separate branch. In 1997, the department changed their fleet of Chevy Caprice vehicles to Ford Crown Victorias due to the ending of the production of the Chevy Caprice. The year 2002 was the start of the Citizens Police Academy. This is a program offered twice a year to citizens. It is a 10-week series of informational classes. This program gives citizens an inside look at the operations and works of the Auburn Police Department.
All right, what it's like being the Auburn Police Chief is it's a very rewarding job. It allows me to be able to connect with a lot of different individuals, be involved in the community in many ways, and our overall goal is to make our community safer.
In 2008, the police department started what was then called the Explorer program, but today this program is called the Cadet program. This program gives an opportunity for kids ages 14 through 21 that have any type of interest in the law enforcement jobs to see what it's like. Some of the main focuses of the program include career opportunities, life skills, citizenship and community involvement, character education, leadership experience, and much more. There are different activities and trainings that are in the program, like monthly administrative training and meetings, patrol ride-alongs, community service, honor guard, radio procedure, traffic stop how-tos, active shooter scenarios, crime scene investigation, report writing, and many more. In 2011, the police department made their third move into the city building located at 60 Court Street in Auburn, where they still remain today. In May of 2012, the Fallen Officer Monument was relocated from the old police department located on Minot Ave to the new one located on Court Street. During 2013, after 2 years of hard work, planning, and renovations, in April, the Auburn Police Activities League, also known as the PAL Center, was finally open. The PAL Center offers many different things, some of which are homework help, learning from mentors, cooking, playing games, and a safe environment that is fun and has amazing volunteers. Within the first year of opening, more than 100 kids were given brand new sneakers or winter boots. Some of the programs that came to be offered through the PAL Center are the annual Junior Police Camp and Four Badges baseball program. Also during the PAL's first year, a summer running program was started. To finish off the moments for the year, the department made a commitment to the city of Auburn to have neighborhood watch groups. August 12th of 2013 was the year that former officer Scott LaLiberty deployed to fight and serve for our country. In 2014, former officer Scott LaLiberty returned home safely from fighting for our country in Afghanistan and Iraq. In May of 2016, the Auburn Police Department's first female lieutenant, Lori Woodhead, retired. Due to her retirement, she was not only the first female lieutenant at the police department, but she was the first female lieutenant at the department to retire.
Tell my children that I love them. Oh yeah, the daddy always loved them so. Tell them to hold their mother tight and to never let her go. Tell them I'll always be watching, looking over them through it all. This is my last call. Tell them to fight for me. Do what's right for me. Choose the light for me. Don't ever forget me. Tell them I'll always be watching, and I'll be there when they fall. This is my last call. For those who served beside me and who held that thin blue line, stand tall, stand strong, and hold your head up high. I'm sorry I let you down today, but please know I gave my all. This is my last call. This is my last call. Yeah, I'd like to think I saved a few good lives, but I couldn't save my own. This is my last call.
2007 was a very big year for the Auburn Police Department as they welcomed their first canine officer, Benny. Benny was a black German Shepherd whose handler and work partner was Corporal Chris Bouchard. Many say that Benny was a trailblazer. Alongside Benny in his duty at the police department was Inka. Inka was a female purebred German Shepherd from New York who began her work duty on March 20th, 2007. Inka's handler and work partner was Corporal Scott Corey. The one thing that everybody always said about Inka was her big heart showed through in all of her work and everything she did. The Auburn Police Department decided to purchase another canine. The department brought in Canine Dutch after going through many different trainings alongside his work partner and handler, Officer Chris Bouchard. The police department then welcomed new canine, Rocky. Rocky had been originally placed with Officer Tyler Ham as his handler and work partner. Rocky was trained in patrol and drug detection. Rocky was particularly special to not only the department but to Miss Sherry Bonney. This is due to his name. Rocky was named in honor of fallen officer Rodney Bonney, who was oftentimes called Rocky. Officer Bonney was killed in the line of duty in 1981. In 2015, after being with his handler Tyler Ham, Rocky was placed with Officer Donald Cousins.
And he does everything for this toy. Everything he does. Whether it be the patrol functions, the tracking, the drug detection, when he does a good job and finds what he's looking for, this is his reward. This is what he works for, is the Black Hawk. He loves it. So, Rocky, speak. Speak.
Throughout the Auburn Police Department's history, the department has faced 2 officers down during the line of duty. Officer Norman Philbrick was part of the department for a total of 2 years and was survived by his wife and 2 daughters. On July 7th of 1949, Officer Norman Philbrick was in the middle of directing traffic when 2 fire trucks rounded the intersection at the same time, crushing Officer Philbrick in the middle. The force of the 2 fire trucks was so strong that Officer Philbrick's handgun that he was wearing at the time of the crash was bent to nearly a 90-degree angle. Today, Officer Philbrick's handgun is displayed at the Auburn Police Department. Sadly, on Monday, April 6, 1981, the Auburn Police Department experienced their second officer down during the line of duty. Officer Rodney Bonney, who went by Rocky most times, was trying to save a teenage boy who had fallen into the Androscoggin River while riding his bicycle along the railroad footbridge. Officer Bonney was the first officer to arrive at the scene and immediately took charge by diving into the river after the boy. Officer Bonney was able to make it to the boy in the moving water. However, out of fear, the boy began to struggle with Officer Bonney. Meanwhile, Officer John Perino arrived at the scene and also entered into the flowing water. Officer Bonney realized that he could not continue, so he pushed the young boy towards Officer Perino. As Officer Perino grabbed the boy, he began to struggle, causing Officer Perino to lose his grip. The young boy fell below the surface, and Officer Perino managed to get back to shore. Officer Bonney's body was not located until the following afternoon. The park that is now located, that was built near the scene of the accident, was named Bonney Park in Officer Bonney's memory. Officer Bonney had served with the department for 2 years and was survived by his wife, son, and daughter previous to the accident. A Hero's Welcome. Time to come home, dear brother, your tour of duty through. You've given as much as anyone could be expected to do. Just a few steps further, the smoke will start to clear. Others here will guide you. You have no need of fear. You have not failed your brothers. You clearly gave it all. And through your selfless actions, others will hear the call. So take your place of honor among those who have gone before, and know you will be remembered for now and evermore. O Lord, while I'm on my beat, may I know that you're with me, and protect me as I go to guard others' lives and property. Help me ignore those who scorn, and show me no respect, but be mindful of all citizens I've sworn to protect. Be with my fellow officers, and guard their safety too. May I always put duty first in the work that I must do. May I not disgrace the uniform, but bring pride to the badge I wear. That I'd be a good policeman, Lord, would be my only prayer. Amen.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong. And what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond. And that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn. And that line is what we reach, so remember me when I'm gone. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride. Let the light guide the way. Without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way, from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling strong. And what's small turn to a friendship turn to a bond. And that bond will never be broken, the love will never get lost. And when brotherhood come first, then the line will never be crossed. Established it on our own when that line had to be drawn. And that line is what we reach, so remember me when I'm gone. How can we not talk about family when family's all that we got? Everything I went through, you were standing there by my side. And now you gon' be with me for the last ride. Let the light guide your way. Yeah. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take will always lead you home. Oh, it's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about